All right, so today we are going to be looking at this paper called DeepSeek-R1, Incentivizing Reasoning Capability in LLMs via Reinforcement Learning.
Yeah.
And this is from DeepSeek-AI, and they're really like pushing the limits
Pushing the boundaries, yeah.
of what LLMs can do.
Yeah, large language models.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to, complex reasoning.
Yeah, complex reasoning.
This is a really big deal, obviously.
Yeah.
And what they've done is they've created this model called DeepSeek-R1.
Okay.
Actually, two versions of it, DeepSeek-R1 0 and DeepSeek-R1.
Ah, okay.
And it's all about like supercharging the reasoning power of these LLMs using something called reinforcement learning.
Reinforcement learning. Okay, so for those of us who aren't, AI professionals, how would you explain that to like a normal person?
I think a good analogy is like teaching a dog a new trick.
Okay.
Right? You reward them when they do something right. And over time, they learn to do that thing.
Right.
Reinforcement learning is similar.
Okay.
We give the model a goal and reward it when it gets closer to that goal.
Gotcha.
And so the model is basically learning by trial and error.
Okay.
Figuring out like, okay, what actions lead to those rewards.
So with DeepSeek-R1 they kind of just like
let
the model loose in this reinforcement learning.
They just let it go and said, figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure out reasoning.
Go figure out reasoning.
We're not going to give you any help.
Yeah, just figure it out.
And it's fascinating because DeepSeek-R1 wasn't given any pre-existing data on how to reason.
Yeah.
It had to learn entirely from scratch, like a baby, trying to understand the world for the first time.
And how did that go?
Really well.
Okay.
It started showing some serious improvement in its reasoning skills as the training went on. For instance, one of the benchmarks they used is this notoriously challenging high school math competition called AM.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
2024.
Yeah. I would be completely lost.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to solve these problems.
Most people would.
Yeah.
But DeepSeek-R1 actually went from a measly 15.6% pass rate.
Okay.
All the way up to a whopping 71%.
Wow. Okay.
Just through this reinforcement learning process.
That's a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. And to put that in perspective, some previous models haven't even been able to hit those kinds of numbers.
Right. Yeah. And then I also read that it got even better when it was allowed to like vote on the best answer.
You're talking about the voting mechanism?
Yeah.
It's pretty clever, actually.
Yeah.
They let DeepSeek-R1 generate multiple responses to a problem.
Yeah.
And then they had it choose the best one.
Right.
Based on its own internal evaluation.
So it's like evaluating itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
And guess what? Its score on the AME shot up to 86.7%.
Wow.
Even surpassing some of the like top performing models.
So it's like getting more sure of itself.
It's getting better. Yeah. And more confident in its own answers.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's amazing.
So what else can you tell us about DeepSeek-R1?
Well, one of the most intriguing things the researchers noticed is this ability for DeepSeek-R1 to self-evolve.
Okay.
They observed that the model actually figured out how to dedicate more processing power to the tougher problems.
So it's like it knows.
Almost like it was learning to think harder.
Yeah, it knows. Like, oh.
When the situation demanded it.
This is hard. I need to like put more effort in.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
It really is quite remarkable.
Yeah.
And there's this other intriguing detail from the paper.
Okay.
Apparently, one of the models had what can only be described as an aha moment. It actually generated the phrase, wait, that's an aha moment I can flag here. Let's reevaluate this step by step.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
It's as if the model was suddenly struck by a new insight.
Wow. That's
just like a human would.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows?
No, research never is.
With DeepSeek-R1 was it? Like there had to be some.
While DeepSeek-R1 was definitely impressive, there were a few quirks.
Okay.
One of the main things they noticed is that its output could sometimes be really hard to read.
Okay.
And every now and then it would even mix up different languages.
Yeah, that would make it hard to...
Which,
understand.
Isn't exactly ideal.
Yeah.
When you're trying to understand complex reasoning.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so I'm guessing that's where DeepSeek-R1 comes in.
Exactly.
They wanted to make it a little... more user-friendly.
But DeepSeek-R1, they kept the power of reinforcement learning, but added some structure to the training process.
Okay.
It's like they gave the model some scaffolding to help it build even stronger reasoning skills.
So instead of just like throwing it out to the wolves,
Yeah,
they gave it a little bit of
I
a
gave it a little head start.
head start.
Yeah.
How did they do that?
Well, they started by feeding the model a small amount of really high-quality data
Okay.
in the beginning.
Okay.
Think of it as giving the model a crash course in good reasoning practices.
So it's like showing it examples.
All right.
Yeah.
Before setting it loose in the reinforcement learning environment.
Gotcha.
This cold start data, as they called it,
Yeah.
helped DeepSeek-R1 build a better foundation for its reasoning abilities.
Yeah.
And on top of that,
Okay.
they also incorporated feedback from humans
Okay. So like,
to further refine the model's output.
hey, model, this is how humans reason.
Precisely.
Okay.
So it's a combination of reinforcement learning, structured data,
Yeah.
and human feedback really seem to do the trick.
Okay. So drum roll, please.
Right.
How did DeepSeek-R1 perform? Like,
Well, let's just say DeepSeek-R1 really stepped up its game.
okay.
On that same AMT 2024 benchmark,
Yeah.
it managed to score a very respectable 79.8%,
Okay.
even slightly edging out a very advanced LLM called OpenAI 01-1217,
Oh, wow. So it's actually beating
which is a very powerful model.
like the big.
Yeah, it's a very big deal.
Yeah.
It beat one of the heavy hitters
Yeah.
in the AI world.
Yeah. Okay. So what about that other benchmark, Math 500?
Oh,
Went actually do well on that one too.
it aced Math 500
Okay.
with a score of 97.3%.
Wow. Okay.
Which, interestingly enough,
Yeah.
was right on par with OpenAI 01-1217's performance
Okay.
on that particular benchmark.
So pretty much the same.
Pretty much the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Neck and neck.
So DeepSeek-R1 is like
Yeah.
a real contender here.
It's a real player
Yeah.
in the world of reasoning AI.
Yeah. But I'm curious, you mentioned earlier that DeepSeek also experimented with distilling these capabilities into smaller models.
Yep.
So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure.
Like, what is that?
So they wanted to see if they could take what DeepSeek-R1 had learned
Okay.
and pack it into a more compact model.
Right.
Something that would be easier to run on, say, a smartphone
So almost like making a
or a less powerful computer.
pocket-sized version.
Yeah, kind of like a pocket version
Yeah.
of this reasoning powerhouse.
Right. Because if you want to make this technology accessible to more people,
Exactly.
you can't have them needing like a supercomputer.
You can't need a supercomputer just
Yeah.
to run it.
So were they successful?
It was amazing.
Okay.
Even these smaller distilled models were able to achieve surprisingly strong reasoning skills
Wow.
after being trained with DeepSeek-R1's output.
That's really cool.
It's pretty remarkable.
But I know research isn't always,
It's not a straight line.
a straight line to success.
It's a winding road.
Yeah. Did they have any like
Yeah, research is all about exploration.
roadblocks?
Yeah.
Like things that didn't work?
Of course, and not every path leads to success.
Okay.
They tried some things that didn't quite pan out as they hoped.
Okay. What were some of those? Like,
Yeah.
what were they trying to do and what happened?
One of their ideas was to use what they called a process reward model.
A process reward model?
Yeah.
What is that?
They were hoping this would help guide the model towards better reasoning strategies.
Okay.
Imagine you're teaching someone to play chess.
Okay.
Instead of just rewarding them for winning,
Yeah.
you also give them points for making good moves along the way,
Yeah.
even if they ultimately lose the game.
Right.
That's kind of the idea behind a process reward model.
Okay.
It rewards the model, not just for the final answer,
Okay.
but also for the steps it takes to get there.
So like encouraging it to
Yeah.
think the right way?
Encouraging it to develop good reasoning habits,
Yeah.
even if it doesn't always find the perfect solution.
So why didn't that work?
It's a bit complicated.
Okay.
But they found that it was surprisingly tricky to design a process reward model
Okay.
that actually encouraged the kind of reasoning they were looking for.
Okay.
It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
And they're still figuring out the best way to do it.
So a learning experience for them?
Definitely.
Oh.
They also tried incorporating a technique called Monte Carlo tree search,
Okay.
which is a way for the model to explore different possible solutions more systematically.
Okay. And so
Yeah.
that's a complex one.
It is.
So what's the like
It's pretty complex.
basic idea behind it? Like I'm imagining.
I mean, imagine you're trying to find the best route through a maze.
Okay.
You could just randomly wander around until you find the exit,
Right.
but that might take a while.
Yeah.
With Monte Carlo tree search,
Yeah.
you explore different paths strategically, keeping track of which ones seem promising
Mm-hmm.
and which ones lead to dead ends.
Yeah.
It's a way to make the search process more efficient.
So they were hoping this would help the model find, like, the right answer
Yeah,
quicker.
the best solutions more quickly.
Yeah.
Um,
So what were the challenges with that?
well, while Monte Carlo tree search works great in some situations,
Yeah.
they found it was really difficult to scale up to the kinds of complex problems that DeepSeek-R1 was tackling.
Okay.
It's a computationally intensive technique,
Yeah.
and they're still working on ways to make it more manageable for large language models.
Yeah. So it sounds like they were really,
Yeah,
experimenting
they're pushing the boundaries
with different things.
and just trying to figure out
See what worked.
what works.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And that's research.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
yeah,
you
exactly.
try things and they don't work.
Yeah, and then that's when you learn.
But that's how you learn.
Yeah, and then you try something else.
Yeah.
So,
Cool. Yeah, so I think it's really fascinating to see how they're tackling these challenges.
absolutely.
And learning from both their successes and their,
Yeah.
failures.
Each experiment, whether successful or not,
Yeah.
adds to our understanding
Yeah.
of what works and what doesn't
Right.
in this incredibly complex field.
Yeah, so I think the big question for me is,
And probably for our listener.
what does all this actually mean?
That's a great question.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's one that researchers are grappling with all the time.
we're talking about benchmarks and reinforcement learning and all this stuff,
Yeah,
but
we're getting into the weeds a little bit.
yeah, what does it actually mean?
Yeah, what are the implications
Yeah.
of this research
Yeah.
beyond just impressive scores
Right.
on some math problems?
Yeah, because, anyone can
Right.
train a model to
Exactly.
solve math problems.
To do a specific task.
Yeah.
Well, what does it mean?
Yeah, what's the bigger picture here?
I think one of the key takeaways here is that we're moving beyond LLMs
Yeah.
that simply parrot back information
Yeah, just like
or generate text.
regurgitating.
That sounds impressive.
Yeah.
On the surface,
Right.
we're now starting to see models that exhibit real reasoning abilities.
Yeah.
They can solve complex problems in ways that were previously thought to be exclusive to human intelligence.
It's almost like a paradigm shift.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
And that brings up all sorts of...
We're not just teaching machines to,
Yeah, we're not just teaching them to mimic human language.
mimic us.
We're teaching them to think.
We're teaching them to think for themselves.
For themselves.
Yeah. And
Yeah, and that brings up all sorts of interesting questions about the future of AI and its role in society.
right.
Like, how will these advancements in reasoning AI impact fields like healthcare, education, scientific research, all of these fields?
An AI that can help doctors diagnose
Exactly.
diseases.
Imagine AI assisting doctors
Yeah.
in diagnosing diseases more accurately,
Yeah.
or helping scientists analyze vast amounts of data
Right.
to make groundbreaking discoveries.
Yeah.
The potential seems limitless.
It does.
It really does.
Yeah, and it's not just
And it's not just about specific tasks.
specific tasks.
These models could also help us understand the human mind better
Whoa.
by studying how these artificial systems learn to reason.
Okay.
We might gain insights into our own cognitive processes.
So we're using AI to learn about ourselves.
It's like we're using AI as a mirror to reflect back on our own intelligence.
That's deep.
Yeah, it is.
But of course we can't talk about, the future of AI
Right.
without thinking about
Without considering
the risks.
the potential challenges
That's
and risks
crazy,
as these models become more sophisticated.
AI become biased or
Yeah.
make decisions that
We need to be mindful of things like bias,
Yeah.
transparency,
Yeah.
and accountability.
Yeah. So how can we ensure that these models are
It's a crucial question,
used responsibly?
and there's no easy answer.
Right.
But I think open discussion and collaboration are key.
Yeah.
We need experts from diverse fields,
Okay.
computer science, ethics, social sciences,
Yeah.
to work together to establish guidelines and best practices for responsible AI development.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
Exactly. It's not just about the technical advancements.
How we're going to use it.
It's also about the ethical and societal implications.
Right. And the ethics behind it.
We need to make sure we're not just creating powerful AI,
Yeah.
but AI that aligns with human values.
Yeah. And so this whole deep dive has really been
Yeah.
eye-opening for me.
It has for me too.
Just to see
Yeah.
all the incredible progress.
It's
and
incredible how
exploiting
fast this field is moving.
in AI.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's really remarkable.
And so it's clear that this technology has the potential to transform our world
It really does.
in some pretty big ways.
I agree. And the research from DeepSeek
Yeah.
is a testament to the ingenuity and creativity
Yeah.
of the people working in this field.
Yeah. They're really like
They're pushing the boundaries.
pushing the limit
Pushing the limits.
of what's possible.
And it's truly exciting to see what they'll come up with next.
Yeah, I'm really
Yeah, I'm on the edge of my seat.
excited to see what comes next.
Yeah.
But before we get ahead of ourselves,
Right.
what are some key things you think our listeners should take away from this discussion so far?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that AI is evolving rapidly.
Yeah.
And reasoning capabilities are becoming increasingly central
Yeah.
to its development.
Yeah.
We're seeing models that can not only process information,
Right.
but also understand, analyze, and even solve complex problems
Yeah.
in ways that were once thought to be the exclusive domain of human intelligence.
It's really like changing the game.
It's a game changer.
Yeah. And it's not just about, robots taking over the world or anything like that.
It's not about that.
It's about,
It's about AI becoming a more powerful tool
yeah.
for understanding our world,
Yeah.
solving challenging problems, and maybe even augmenting our own intelligence.
Right. Using it to
Yeah. And make ourselves better.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's about AI and humans working together
Yeah.
to achieve things that neither could do alone.
Right.
It's a partnership.
Now, you mentioned earlier that we can't ignore the potential challenges and risks
Yeah.
associated with these
Of course not.
advancements.
Yeah.
So could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Sure.
Like, what are some of the things that we need to be, cautious about?
Well, one concern is the potential for bias.
Okay.
AI models are trained on data.
Yeah.
And if that data reflects existing biases in society,
Yeah.
the model might perpetuate those biases. Right.
In its decisions.
Yeah.
This is something we need to be very careful about.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to things like
Especially in health.
care or
If these models are going to be used in areas like healthcare,
criminal justice.
criminal justice,
Like things that really affect people.
hiring,
Yeah.
things that really affect people's lives.
Yeah. So garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, garbage in, garbage out.
What about transparency?
Transparency is crucial
Yeah.
because we need to be able to understand how these models are making decisions.
Right. Like,
If an AI system is used to make a decision that affects someone's life,
why did it make that decision?
we need to be able to explain why that decision was made.
Yeah.
This is important for building trust
Yeah.
and ensuring that these systems are used fairly and ethically.
Yeah. So it's not enough for it to be right.
Right.
It also has to.
It's not enough for these models to be accurate.
Like,
They also need to be explainable.
we have to know, how it got there.
We need to be able to look under the hood, so to speak,
Yeah.
and understand the reasoning behind their decisions.
And then what about accountability?
That's the $1,000,000 question.
Like, who's responsible when
It's a complex issue,
an AI makes a mistake?
and there's no simple answer.
Yeah.
But I think we need to start thinking about frameworks for AI accountability.
Okay.
Who is responsible for ensuring that these systems are developed and used safely and ethically?
Yeah.
Is it the developers,
Yeah.
the companies deploying these models,
Yeah.
government regulators?
Yeah.
It's something we need to figure out sooner rather than later.
Yeah. And I think it's a good point that, there's a lot of work to be done.
There is.
Not just on the technical side,
It's not just about the technical side.
but also
It's also about the ethical
on the, ethical and societal.
and societal fronts.
Yeah.
Yeah. The advancements in AI are happening at a breakneck pace.
Yeah. It's moving really fast.
And we need to make sure we're thinking carefully about the implications.
Yeah.
It's not just about building cool technology.
Right.
It's about building technology that serves humanity.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
To transition into the final part of our deep dive.
All right.
We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From the technical details,
Yeah.
DeepSeek-R1, to
Right.
the
Broader implications
broader implications of reasoning AI.
of reasoning AI for society.
For society, yeah.
Yes. We've explored the incredible potential of this technology
Yeah.
and the challenges we need to be mindful of
Yeah.
as we move forward.
Yeah.
Now let's shift our focus to what this all means for our listener
Yeah.
and the future of AI as a whole.
Great. It's funny. We started this deep dive by comparing DeepSeek-R1 to
Right.
a child learning to reason.
A child?
But now I'm thinking maybe it's more like we're the children
I like that analogy.
figuring out what AI can become.
We're still in the early stages of understanding what these models are truly capable of.
Yeah.
And like any child,
Yeah.
they have the potential to surprise us,
Right.
to exceed our expectations, and maybe even to teach us a thing or two along the way.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, what's next?
Right. What other seemingly human skills
Yeah.
might we see emerge
Yeah. What else can we
in these models
model?
as we refine the training methods
Yeah.
and push the boundaries even further?
Yeah.
It's an exciting question.
It is.
We've seen these models exhibit remarkable reasoning abilities,
Yeah.
and now researchers are exploring things like creativity,
Okay.
emotional intelligence,
Oh, wow.
even a sense of morality.
Hold on. AI with a moral compass.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary.
I understand your hesitation.
Yeah.
But think about it this way.
Okay.
If we're going to create AI systems that
Yeah.
are deeply integrated into our lives,
Yeah.
that help us make decisions
Mhm.
with far-reaching consequences,
Yeah.
wouldn't we want those systems to have some understanding of right and wrong?
I mean, I guess so, but how do you
Yeah, it's a tricky question.
teach a machine?
It's definitely a challenge.
Reality.
One approach is to train these models on large amounts of text
Okay.
that reflect human values and ethical principles.
Oh.
The idea is that by absorbing these ethical frameworks, the models might be able to develop their own sense of moral reasoning.
So it's like giving them a philosophy lesson.
Yeah, kind of like giving them a crash course in philosophy and ethics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's fascinating to think about.
Yeah, it is.
But it raises a lot of questions.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and that's why ongoing research
Yeah.
and open discussion are so important.
Right.
We need to carefully consider the implications
Yeah.
of developing AI with these kinds of capabilities.
Yeah.
What are the potential benefits?
Right.
What are the risks?
Yeah.
How can we ensure that these systems are aligned with human values?
Right. Because we want to make sure that it's
Right,
beneficial and not harmful.
We want to make sure it's used for good
Right.
and not for bad.
Yeah. It sounds like we're kind of venturing into
We are.
uncharted territory here.
We're venturing into uncharted territory.
But it's a journey we need to take.
But it's a journey we have to take.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because AI is gonna
Because as AI continues to evolve,
keep
it's going to become increasingly intertwined with our lives.
Yeah, it's gonna be more and more a part of
Yeah.
our daily lives.
Exactly.
So as we conclude this deep dive,
Yeah.
I would challenge our listener.
Okay.
I think that's a great point, and I really like how you framed it as, it's a partnership
Yeah.
between humans and AI.
It's not this adversarial thing
Yeah.
that some people make it out to be.
Right. Yeah.
It's about working together
Yeah.
to make something better.
Now, you mentioned earlier that we can't ignore the potential challenges and risks
Yeah.
associated with these advancements. Of course not.
So could you elaborate on that a little bit more? Like,
Yeah.
what are some of the things that we need to be, like, cautious about?
Well, one concern is the potential for bias.
Okay.
AI models are trained on data,
Yeah.
and if that data reflects existing biases in society,
Yeah.
the model might perpetuate those biases
Right.
in its decisions.
Yeah.
This is something we need to be very careful about,
Yeah, especially when it comes to things like
especially
healthcare or
if these models are going to be used in areas like healthcare,
criminal justice.
criminal justice,
Like things that really affect people.
hiring,
Yeah.
things that really affect people's lives.
Yeah. So garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, garbage in, garbage out.
What about transparency?
Transparency is crucial
Yeah.
because we need to be able to understand how these models are making decisions.
Right. Like,
If an AI system is used to make a decision that affects someone's life,
why did it make that decision?
we need to be able to explain why that decision was made.
Yeah.
This is important for building trust
Yeah.
and ensuring that these systems are used fairly and ethically.
Yeah. So it's not enough for it to be right.
Right.
It also has to.
It's not enough for these models to be accurate.
Right.
They also need to be explainable.
We have to know, like, how it got there.
We need to be able to look under the hood, so to speak, and understand the reasoning behind their decisions.
And then what about accountability? Like,
That's the million-dollar question. isn't it?
yeah, like who's responsible when
It's a complex issue,
an AI makes a mistake?
and there's no simple answer.
Yeah.
But I think we need to start thinking about frameworks for AI accountability.
Oh.
Who is responsible for ensuring that these systems are developed and used safely and ethically?
Yeah.
Is it the developers,
Yeah.
the companies deploying these models,
Yeah.
government regulators?
Yeah.
It's something we need to figure out sooner rather than later.
Yeah. And I think it's a good point that, like, there's a lot of work to be done. not just on the technical side.
It's not just about the technical side. It's also about the
But
ethical
also like ethical and societal.
and societal fronts.
Yeah.
Yeah, the advancements in AI are happening at a breakneck pace.
Yeah, it's moving really fast.
And we need to make sure we're thinking carefully about the implications.
Yeah.
It's not just about building cool technology.
Right.
It's about building technology that serves humanity.
Right. I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
To transition into the final part
Okay.
of our deep dive.
Right.
We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From the technical details of DeepSeek-R1.
Right. To the broader implications.
Broader implications of reasoning AI.
Of reasoning AI for society.
Of society. Yeah.
Yes, we've explored the incredible potential of this technology.
Yeah.
And the challenges we need to be mindful of as we move forward.
Yeah.
Now let's shift our focus to what this all means for our listener and the future of AI as a whole.
To think about their own role in shaping the future of AI, like we are all stakeholders.
Absolutely.
In this, like...
we all have a part to play.
Revolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to our listener, I would ask, what kind of future do you want to see for AI?
Yeah. What are your hopes?
Yeah.
What are your concerns?
Yeah.
And how can you contribute to building a future where AI empowers humanity rather than diminishes it?
Yeah.
Those are questions worth pondering.
They really are.
As we enter this new era of intelligent machines.
Yeah. It's really exciting to think about.
It is.
And I think that's a great place to wrap up our depth dive.
I agree.
I agree.
It's been a fascinating conversation.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
So until next time.
Until next time.